What's happening? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Fight Out podcast. Last episode we got 43 views, Mike, so far.
It's all right, isn't it?
I'll take that. I honestly thought it'd be about 5. So
it's 40 more than I thought, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that all day, like. So nice one to everyone who did watch.
Yeah.
So on this one, obviously we're talking about the fight night, the weekend, Sandhagen, Nurmagomedov. We've got a little bit of a prediction show, basically, haven't we, Mike? We've got a few predictions that we've done on the fights, a bet that we're going to do, and then basically just talk through the fight. So we'll start off with the prelims. The two of us have both picked 2 fights on the prelims and the 2 different fights than the other one. So if you want to start, Mike, give your 2 prelim picks, why you've picked them.
Yeah. As I say, we're not going to try and be too intense here, are we? Just a bit of fun, a few picks, and we like a bet on the fight, so we thought you might as well.
Yep.
I've got 2 picks for the prelims. First one, I've got Jai Herbert. To be honest, I've got Jai Herbert by decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he caught him and stopped him. I think his range, he'll keep him at distance, and I thought Jai Herbert looked quite good in that Ilya Topuria fight until obviously he got it was an absolute bomb. But until then, I thought he was looking quite good.
Had been a lot of trouble.
He did. He's handy, Jai Herbert. He's handy. I just don't know if he's got that like dog in him sometimes. But I fancy him this weekend. I think it's a winnable fight for him. So
yeah,
Jai. And then my second pick on the prelims is Azamat. It's a ranked fight. This one, it's a ranked fight. Azamat against Alonzo Menafield. It's 14 against 15, and it could have a bit of say in the division. To be honest, if Azamat puts a few wins together, it's not a stacked division, is it? So
yeah,
I think he could put a run. The only thing against him is he's already 35, so he's quite early fight wise in his career, but he's 35. But I fancy him. I fancy this to be a striking match, to be honest. I think Azamat will get on the inside, mix it up a little bit more than Alonzo will, and that'll get him the win. I fancy him to stop him late, 3rd round stoppage.
Oof, big shout. Okay. So the 2 prelims that I've got, I toyed with Jai Herbert. Excuse me. I've got him on a potential 9-fold.
Yeah.
But for what I've actually done, decided to go with Victoria Dudakova, 8-0, 4-7. Very nice odds if you ask me.
Yeah.
I've only seen 1 fight actually live, and she looked quite good. Obviously she's unbeaten, looks good, and like the odds. And then I've got Guram, who's on a little bit of a skid, like quite a big skid, to be honest. But same with Khamzat. He's got a nice win over Gamrot. He's looked good in certain fights, but then he's obviously lost a couple and stuff like that. I think he needs to win. And I know that sounds a bit mad for a bet, but I think he needs to win this fight, otherwise he could get cut, really. I think out of his last 6, I think he's lost 4 or something like that. So obviously he really does need a win.
Yeah.
I think that's a little bit dangerous. So there's the 2 prelim picks from both of us.
Yeah.
We're moving on to the main card.
I think just on that day, when you were talking there about Guram, I think sometimes when fighters have got something to fight for and they've got the place in the UFC to fight for, they sometimes just go up a little level. So I like that pick for that reason. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, his odds are quite short, to be honest. He's 49, which I don't think it's not that wide, especially when he's on a skid. But he is good, and like I said, he's got to win over Gamrot. Gamrot's a good level fighter, so he's obviously got it in him to do it. He just maybe needs the motivation or stuff like that. It struck me a little bit like Till, like knowing he was with Khamzat, and it felt like they were sort of preparing Khamzat, not themselves.
Yeah.
I've sort of felt like that with Guram.
Yeah.
So hopefully now
can be it when you've got a world class fighter in camp. It can feel like you're only there for them, can't it?
Yeah. Okay. So then moving on to the main card, we've got some similar choices, haven't we? But you've got one wild card in there.
Yeah, well, we just went through this off camera, didn't we? And I think out of the 6 main fights, I think we've got 5 the exact same, and the one that we haven't really is because I just like a dog. I just like wide odds sometimes. Sometimes some of my picks might not necessarily be representative of who I actually think will win, but just value in the fight. So I think value in one. Yeah.
So starting off then, first fight on the main card, we've both got Joel Alvarez, haven't we?
Yeah, I think for me this was the hardest one to pick on the main card.
I agree.
I studied this one for about half an hour, and then I've done the other 5 in about the next half hour. So this one was a genuine toss-up for me, a genuine 50-50. I think Joel Alvarez has fought a slightly higher caliber of fighter.
Yeah.
He's fought Arman, and his last win against Mark Chiesa, I think that just about edged it for me, and I fancy him by sub for that reason.
Yeah. To be fair, I was very similar. I was looking at the level of opposition, and then I was looking at fights in the UFC. So Joel Alvarez is 5-2 in the UFC, and Brener's 3-1.
Yeah.
So similar win percentage, but Alvarez has got more fights, and obviously I feel like the UFC is a higher level. So I think that's got some say in it. But I would not be surprised if that did go the other way, to be honest.
No, 100%. This could easily be a coupon buster like this one.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me was that loss to Arman, and I know we got stopped by Arman, but I think when you've been in there with someone who's on that level, Arman's number one in the world right now. So I think when you've been in there with someone who's on that level, you're going to learn a lot, and you can take that into your next fight.
Yeah, I agree. I like the shout though. I like him on the accumulator.
Yeah,
like we said,
good odds as well. It's a good boost to that one, because they were both like close to evens, weren't they? So
yeah, I think the other fella's 11-8. No,
yeah, I think he was.
So that is quite tasty, like.
And he was about 4-6 or something, wasn't he, Joel Alvarez?
Yeah, I think last time I checked, 4-6. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my pick for that one anyway. Yeah.
Okay, next fight, Mackenzie Dern. Again, this is quite an hard one. We've both gone with Mackenzie Dern.
Yeah.
So she's had a bad run, like the last 5 or 6 fights.
Yes, yeah.
But the last 2 in particular have been against good level opposition.
The highest level, really, innit?
Yeah, she had Amanda Lemos and Jessica Andrade.
Yeah.
So losing to them is not, a bad one, basically. With that said, she has lost to some people before that. And I think she strikes me as one of them that once she got the first loss in the UFC, she stumbled a bit. And that's what she's sorted on now, this stumble. But then I've been like watching her interviews and stuff this week. She's saying, she wants to be champion. She's not going to go in there and brawl. She's going to be tactical about it. Like, she's saying all the right stuff. And at 5-6, I do fancy her quite big.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't want to just keep agreeing with you. I thought we were going to have a bit of back and forth on this show, but it seems like we're just going to be in agreement. I had written down next to Mackenzie Dern my nap of the show. I think at 5-6, she's my biggest cert on the card.
Yeah.
What you've just touched on there, I couldn't agree with more. I think she came into the UFC a little bit with like the Ronda Rousey effect. I think she thought she was untouchable until she got touched.
Yeah.
And she used to strike with strikers and make mistakes. Whereas I think now, when I've seen her recently, even in a couple of her losses against the high level, she wants to try and fight her fight at least. She doesn't try and fight other people's fight. And I think if she comes in tomorrow and fights her fight, I think she wins quite handily. I think she wins by sub, to be honest.
Oh, that's a big shout. Let's see what them odds are just before we go from there.
She is a legit world level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
She's 5-2 submission.
Yeah.
Out of them 3, she's 9-4 decision, 5-2 submission, 10-1 TKO/KO.
Yeah, can't see the KO.
That submission is good value, I think.
I think that's like me Paddy pick last week. That was 17-4, wasn't it? This is me one for this week, 5-2 submission, Mackenzie Dern. Get on that as a single.
You could do it. This card's a bit mad though. Like I was saying then, I feel like it's a card for the underdog, and then I've gone and picked 8 favourites. Like, but
the thing is with this card, it feels like it's one of the most closely matched UFC cards I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
so,
it is.
Although it's a fight night, it feels really exciting, I think.
Like, it's a very good card. Like, Diaz was on it as well. It'd have the star power on top of it. But like, as far as fights go, the main card's solid.
Yeah.
Prelims, like obviously, if you usually watch prelims and stuff like that, I know not everyone does, but like, there's quite a few fighters on them prelims there where I'm like, yeah, they're decent. That's a good little fight.
Well, I caught myself looking through the fight, and I was trying to pick out a fight of the night, and we'll touch on it later because it's later on in our predictions. But after the fights we've discussed so far, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of them stole fight of the night.
Yeah.
Not often you find yourself saying that about a card, that you could see 4 or 5 being fight of the night. You normally know it's between 2 or 3, don't you?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. But there's one for me that I think it'll be, and like you said, we'll touch on that.
Coming up?
It's coming up, yeah.
I think we might be in agreement on this one then.
I know. Need to start arguing over something.
I know.
So,
It looks like we've
fight
discussed
then.
it now, doesn't it? Looks like
I
we've
know, I know. So next fight, we actually will argue here. This is where you're going bold, isn't it? So go on, talk to me.
Well, we won't argue because I am kind of in agreement, but there's a part of me that just loves nostalgia, and I just think Tony Ferguson at 4-1 is crazy odds. If you just imagine you'd have said this 6 or 7 years ago when Chiesa was fighting the unranked fighters in the lightweight division, and Tony Ferguson was being touted to beat Khabib. Imagine you'd have said this then. And I know things have changed. Tony's on probably the biggest skid ever in the UFC without getting cut, and it's at welterweight. That's probably the biggest thing, which I'll touch on in a minute. But I think Tony's lost 7 in a row now.
Yeah.
And 5 of them are against the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
One is against Paddy, which has aged quite well. And the other, the Nate Diaz one, was at welterweight, which concerns me. If Nate could beat him at welterweight off the back of a bit of a layoff, I think Chiesa can. But I just think at 4-1, if Tony Ferguson's got one last performance in him, and he did look good against Paddy, he did look good in that last round. I know Paddy was tired. If he's got one last performance in him, I want it to be tomorrow, and I want it to be at 4-1.
I'm going Chiesa.
Yeah.
But you're sort of weighing on me with what you're saying there. Like, to be fair to Tony, in every fight he's hurt them apart from Paddy. Like you saying, he looked good in the last round, but I don't think he really ever had Paddy in trouble. I think Paddy was just absolutely gassed out.
He was, yeah.
He hurt Bobby Green, dropped him, dropped Chandler. He had Oliveira in trouble. He dropped Gaethje.
Yeah.
Who else has he fought in there? He fought the Brener one was a bit mad. Like, I can't remember him having too much trouble there. But all of them, he was looking good. And yeah, Nate was a welterweight, and I think they were both sort of just happy to be in there with each other, to be honest, in that one. Yeah. So you made a good point in the week where you said Chiesa's not a killer, and Tony's 4 killers.
Yeah.
Which is sort of swaying my mind a bit. But I just think Chiesa's a very, very big man.
I think
he fight middleweight.
I think we're both in agreement on this, at the fact that I think if you give us these odds and this fight and give us odds of 50-50, I think we'd both side with Chiesa easily.
Yeah.
So that says that we both probably think Chiesa will win. But I just think at 4-1, Tony's is a good pick at 4-1.
Yeah.
But as you say, Chiesa's massive. Chiesa is quite a long, rangy welterweight. And obviously rangy, I don't think there'll be much striking in this fight at all. I think this will be a grappler's dream.
Yeah, I do.
I think the size will come into that grappling, and I think Tony's jiu-jitsu could just get him through, but I think the size matters, and I think I can see Chiesa having him up against the cage quite a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on then.
Yeah.
This next one. This is my fight of the night, personally.
Oh, okay. So we don't agree?
Oh, okay. It's fair enough.
Yeah.
I think this next one's fight of the night because these are two gritty little dudes. Like, I've picked Figgy.
Yeah.
I think he's looked a beast anyway at the weight below, and then since he's moved up as well. I think it's hard to get Cheeto out of there. I think he's a bit of a zombie. No matter how much you hit him, he just keeps coming, and that's quite dangerous. So, what odds is Cheeto? He's above evens, like.
I think. Did I see 7-4 maybe, something around that? 6-4, 7-4.
6-5 he is, yeah.
How is he?
And Figueiredo's 4-6. So I mean, they're not that wide the odds. They're quite.
I think that was slightly wider yesterday. I think that was slightly wider yesterday.
Thing is, like this is another one a bit like the Alvarez one. It wouldn't surprise me if it just went the other way, because like Cheeto's established at that weight. To be fair, he's got a good run. He's got a win over Cruz. He's got Rob Font in there. He's got the win over O'Malley. That was a bit controversial, but let's be honest, he did win it. Yeah. Then he got beat by O'Malley, obviously. There's a few nice wins in there. He got beat by Aldo, but he's quite established in there. He's quite comfy. Obviously, he's got like 9 losses, but it is quite a close fight. I am just going with Figgy, just really based off like the Brandon Moreno fights and stuff, because they were tough.
Yeah.
And I think he obviously it was a bit 50-50. He won one, lost one, but he was coming through in them, and I think as a one-off, yeah, I'm going to go with him, and I'm going to say fight of the night.
Okay, I like everything you've said, to be honest. I think the funny thing about this fight is this would have been perfect as the co-main. I don't really understand why this one sat below Shadow Bullets. I understand Shadow Bullets getting built up to be this boogeyman out fighting out in Dubai, can't get his visa to fight in the medical, or can't get passed by the medical because of his eye or whatever the reason may be. But this would have been a perfect one to have under the main events. The same weight, rank 4 versus rank 6, then it's rank 2 versus rank 10 in the main event. Everything you've touched on, I agree with. I think both fighters in this fight are proven world title contenders, world level fighters. In the main event, we don't even have that because we don't know about Umar yet.
Yeah.
I think we all know. I think we do know, but it hasn't been proven. So I'm going with Figgy as well in this one. I'm going Figueiredo. I like the fight. I'm not so sure it'll be fight of the night.
Okay, I can see it going the distance, which is why I think it will be.
I think it'll go the distance, definitely. I just think I've got a feeling this one could be quite one-sided.
Definitely, yeah, going to be a dominating one.
Yeah, I've seen a side of Chito Vera where sometimes he comes out and he looks like he just doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, round 1 and stuff sometimes, but then you see like the knee landed on O'Malley in the 5th.
Yeah, but the fact that this is a 3-round fight, you can't start in the 2nd. And I think that could be an issue for him. That's my only thinking there, saying it might be one side. I think by the time Chito Vera gets going, I think Figgy could be a round and a half up, and then the fight's as good as done then, isn't it?
Yeah, to be fair, that's a good point. And I like what you said about the co-main. I think the reason why it's not is because Nick Diaz and Luque were obviously pulled in the card. Yeah. And he wanted something big as the co-main, which I agree could be that. But like trying to build the Bullets, aren't they? So I think that's the only reason why. Otherwise, it would have been perfect. It would have been like a little Grand Prix, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, that like a little tournament sort of, like what they used to do in the olden days, like what they do in PFL. But I get it. I think Dana knows that the lower weights don't really sell as well, do they? I don't even think he'd normally put 2 featherweight fights back to back, co-main and main, unless it was when McGregor was at featherweight.
Is it the only one he's done? One's the Noche card, isn't it? I think isn't that Ortega and what's his face? He was meant to fight.
He's gone a bantam title.
Oh, he's gone a bantamweight, sorry, yeah.
Bantam title fight and then a feather co-main.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think sometimes he doesn't like giving the smaller weight so much love, does he?
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. So then co-main then.
Yeah.
I think every man and his dog's got one man to win this, like.
Yeah. I'm gonna try and avoid saying the other lad's name. Do you want to go for it?
I'm not saying his name, like
Mikel Olasejchuk or something.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like I seen King and Nick Pete trying to say it, mate, and I thought if Pete nailed it, I thought you're not getting better than that, so I'm not even going to attempt it.
No, I thought Bisping's tongue was going to come out. But yeah, I'm big on Shadow Bullet for this one. I think this will be performance of the night. I think he'll get him out of there quite handy, to be honest. His kickboxing's outstanding. We haven't seen too much of his wrestling, but he's Russian, so he can wrestle, can't he? We know that. Yeah, I don't know how like to what level, but he's Russian, he can wrestle. It's just a fact.
Yeah, I'm going bullet by finish. I don't even think there's much to say on it, to be honest. There's bullet by finish.
I'm going bullet by KO, but then the only thing I want to say on that fight is next fight out in Abu Dhabi, I want to see the Bullets against Bo Nickel.
Yeah,
that's what I want. Let's see if he can wrestle. Because if he gets through that, if he can wrestle through that and kickbox his way through that, he's world level.
Let's wrestle, kid.
I don't love that weight. It needs something new. It needs a bonus.
It needs freshen up. But I, to be honest, well, welterweight and middleweight needs something new for me. And like I know Bilal's the champ at welterweight now, but I mean Paddy nailed it, innit? He's the most boring champion ever. Like it's going to be boring. He's not my cup of tea anyway. And I think at middleweight, Dricus is also. He's not like the star power champ, is he? So we'll see what happens with Izzy next month.
We've got a few, haven't we? We've got a few like just gritty champions.
Yeah.
And I know I touched on it the other day. The only thing I think Bilal's got in his favour, and I'm not saying the only thing, like it's a small thing, but if they market him right as the first Palestinian champion in a time where like Palestine's, I know he's American, but his family are Palestinian.
Yeah.
I think if they market him right on that, and he gets the whole of Palestine behind him, that could be a brilliant story, though. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. The UFC will be all over that. Like,
yeah, they need to be. If they're not, and they should be listening. They might be one of the 43 viewers.
Yeah, well, David, if you're listening, nice one for at 10 o'clock, mate. Couldn't have done, could you? You little nuthead.
The one in the UK was at 6 in the morning, but in Abu Dhabi it's 10 o'clock at night. It's great, isn't it?
Flying this week. Last week, mate, I was absolutely zombie in it.
Looking forward to this one tomorrow. I can actually go to bed after it and it'll be dark.
Yeah, it's a handy one tomorrow. You better watch it with me tomorrow. She loves it. 6 though.
So we both there, Shara KO?
Yeah.
You're going to go bold and predict the round, or are you just going Shara KO?
I'm just going to go KO. I might predict the round, so I'm not doing the best till tomorrow. So I might do it then, but I'm just going KO, mate. What about you?
I'll just stick with KO then. I've gone bold on a couple of predictions, haven't I?
So then the main events.
Yeah.
Umar against the Sandman.
Yeah. Umar against the Sandman. This is my fight of the night. Speaks for itself, to be honest.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to argue with you, to be fair. I think it's a lot closer than the odds are going on, isn't it?
Couldn't agree more.
Sandman's 5-2. Umar, when I checked last, was 1-3. That's very wide for, like we said, let's be honest, he looks good, but we don't know what he's like against this level of opposition. So I think that's quite interesting. I am going Umar to win, but I'm also going to do an underdog bet. I've definitely got Cody on it because I think his odds are very, very nice for what this fight is, and it could again easily go that way. Yeah,
it's an age-old UFC battle, isn't it? It's an experienced dog against an up-and-comer who we all think is destined to be world champion. It's what we like to see, and normally, to be honest, you like to see the young lad win. You want to see the young lad come through and win the dog against the experienced fighter. You don't want to see the same people compete for the title year after year after year, especially if they've gone so close and haven't quite got there.
Yeah.
So I'm going for Umar myself. I think it's quite similar to you touched on it last week, and when I re-listened to our pod from last week, you touched on it with O'Malley. I think he was ranked 10, and he went and fought ranked 1.
Yeah, against Piotr Jan.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. And he's 10 and he's fighting 2. He's skipping out a whole 7-8 fighters. But when you actually look at the rankings, them 7-8 fighters, there's a lot of fighters in there that he should really skip. You've got a Henry Cejudo in there who's not really massively active. There's a load of fighters who he should really skip. So I like it. I like the matchup. I like that it's main event. And I'm going for Umar myself. I think it'll be his kickboxing's brilliant. His wrestling, again, obviously comes from his cousin Khabib's gym, so his wrestling's unstoppable in it. But his kickboxing slept on. He's a real all-rounder.
Yeah. No, he definitely is. I've seen DC saying he's like an upgraded version of Khabib and Islam. So obviously DC will have way more insight than us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with him at all. I don't know if he'd get this fight if his last name went Nurmagomedov, though, to be honest. I think he's got it off merit in terms of like, he's looked good, but I don't know if he'd got a big one like this. He might have got a Cheetah or something like that instead, a little bit lower down.
That's what I thought when I looked at the rankings. Obviously, Cheeto's tied up with his fight with Figgy. When you're looking at the rankings, I think who's ahead of him. I can't even remember now. I looked at the rankings yesterday. I know Cejudo's in there. Is Rob Font in there?
Yeah, Rob Font will be.
Is Cody Garbrandt's in there?
Yeah.
Do you want to see any of them, really?
I love Cody, but not against Umar, no.
Don't want to
Cody get beat again, like.
I thought Cody was rejuvenated. I meant to touch on that before. I thought Cody was rejuvenated, but Figgy dispatched of him, didn't he?
Yeah, that was the one for me though, where because obviously when he's moved up, you're a bit like, what's he gonna do?
Yeah,
and he's beat Cody.
Yeah,
shoved him, didn't he, in a third, I think.
Well, I had Cody in that one. I think we both did. I think we both had Cody in that one.
I would have definitely had Cody. Like.
I thought Cody would be too much for him because of the size and the boxing, but I think he's proved himself. But anyway, back to Umar. I think without it being proved, I think we all know he's destined to be world champion.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get carried away on the bandwagon, but I like the matchup for him against O'Malley as well if he gets through this.
That'll be a big fight, like him and O'Malley.
Massive.
Quite big. So yeah, so that concludes the initial bet then. So if anyone was wondering, my eightfold: Dudakova, Guram, Joel Alvarez, Mackenzie Dern, Chiesa, Figgy, Shara by finish, and Umar is a 29-1 8-fold. Jai Herbert's on it, makes it a 9-fold. That goes to 51-1. And then Mike, your 8-fold was quite similar. It was, I think yours was like 60-1 with Ferguson on it. Like,
yeah, well, my 8 were Jai, Herbert, Azamat, Joel Alvarez, Mackenzie Dern, Tony Ferguson as a dog, Figgy, Shara Bullet, and Umar. I think that will probably be close to 100-1 it with the Ferguson. Like,
sure, I've done it before, and it was like 60, 65 or something.
Was it?
I'm saying that it must have been more. Maybe I done it wrong. So outside of that, I've got a dog bet. I'm going big for it. You've got me on the Tony bandwagon.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Corey as well. I'm going to go Elvis Brener. Just all to win, not by finish, not by submission, nothing. That's 5-1 standalone.
Is that Corey, Sandhagen, Tony Ferguson, and Elvis Brener?
Yeah.
We can probably lash them underneath the video, can't we, in the comments or something? Lash the free with the odds.
Yeah,
just in case one of the 50 people who listen might be interested.
Yeah, maybe Dana fancies a little 50p flutter.
If we win ourselves some money and someone else some money, it's worth it, isn't it?
Well, yeah. So that concludes all the card. Like, I can't wait for it. I think it's a bit slept on. Like, there's obviously it's a fight night, so there's not going to be like a pay-per-view build up, but there's not a lot about it. And I think for like MMA purists, they'll be very happy with this card tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I heard something yesterday saying that I think it's the first fight night card in Abu Dhabi. They're normally obviously pay-per-views, but I think that, being honest, I think there'll be a lot more like fights in general, maybe not fight nights in Abu Dhabi with the rise of, say, for example, like Umar, you've got Makhachev as a champion. If this Shara Bullet's only able to fight in Abu Dhabi, I think that could sort of become the new hub for the world champions, because there could be 3 or 4 of them by the end of this year.
Yeah, I like it. Well, I think that's a good place to stop, Sheikh Mick. I think we've hit the nail on the head. I think we've done a lot.
Yeah.
So, anything else you want to add?
No, happy days. As I say, just title ramifications, isn't it, in the main event, and that's what you want. That's what you want on a fight night.
Yeah. Can't agree more. I'm going to have to sound disagree with you next week, like, but
for
this week.
Maybe for the pay-per-views, you might disagree.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Oh, bloody hell. Well, thanks everybody for the 13 people that will be watching. We'll get this released today, and we'll get the next one up ASAP.
Nice one. Thanks, guys.
See you in a bit.